Hello, I'm Brother Thomas, and today I'll talk to you about St. Thomas Aquinas and the virtue of religion. Now, in the modern world, most people think of religion as a thing or some sort of structure. So you say Christianity is a religion or Buddhism is a religion. Most people think it's some sort of structure. For St. Thomas Aquinas, however, religion is not a thing per se, but an action. It's something you do. Now, religion is not just something you do, but it's also a virtue. Virtue is fundamentally an interiorized disposition to act well in accordance with reason that perfects us in some regard. Religion is a potential part of the virtue of justice, which is one of the four cardinal virtues. Justice has to do with giving people their due. I give my employee a fair wage. That's part of justice, is rendering to people what is their due. The virtue of religion has to do with not just giving your due to anyone in particular, but to the divine. Religion is the virtue whereby we render to the divine what is owed to it. Now, this is a purely natural virtue. The pagans were religious because they had a concept of the divine and they offered things to the divine. And what religion fundamentally offers to the divine is worship. Worship is a recognition of superiority. You recognize the divine as the ultimate cause for all things. You recognize the divine as the ultimate end of all things. You recognize the divine as the means by which we even approach the end. The 17th century Dominican Rafael de la Torre, in his commentary on the potential parts of the virtue of justice of St. Thomas Aquinas' Summa Theologiae, writes that there were many barbarous peoples which lacked a number of the virtues, while approving of such vices as robbery, fornication, and homicide, and rejecting their opposing virtues. But truly, it does not appear in history that there was any people, whether civilized or barbarous or infidel, in which religion, in name or matter, was not observed, and in which honor given to God, or to false gods, which they considered to be true, was not placed among the first of their concerns. Religion is a fundamentally natural thing for humans. We are naturally ordered to recognize and to know God. The virtue of religion is what orders us to that. And for that reason, the virtue of religion is the most important moral virtue. As St. Thomas Aquinas says, the virtue of religion is preeminent inter virtutes morales. It excels among all the virtues, the moral virtues. However, pagan religion is ultimately futile. Because of revelation, because of the fact of the incarnation, we don't recognize just the divine as some strange first mover or we don't recognize Zeus. We don't recognize just any kind of divine. We recognize the triune God. We recognize, as Christians, Father, Son, and Spirit. For the Christian, religion orders us not just to the divine, but to the triune God. And because of the life of grace, we realize that it is God himself who moves us towards himself. God is our ultimate cause. He moves us along the way to himself. Religion, then, is the most important moral virtue because it most closely orders our life to God. And so St. Thomas Aquinas differentiates the theological virtues from the virtue of religion. The theological virtues have God as their object. That is, I love God. whereas the virtue of religion, although it deals with God not as object, but as end. God is the end, or the goal, or the completion of what religion is all about. And since religion is part of the virtue of justice, and the virtue of justice perfects the will, and the will is what allows us to command actions, the virtue of religion is able to command, through the will, any number of actions towards the end of God. But how does it do that? You have to have two interior actions which give life to any of your exterior actions.